On this episode of You Made What? I'm making a meal nobody has ever dared to make while camping before. I'm making lasagna.
You're making what? Nate, that's impossible. It can't be done.
And just like every episode of You're Making What, I'm making everything from scratch, and it's gonna be delicious.
First, I made the dough from scratch. I didn't follow a recipe for this dough, but I had a rough idea of the ingredients needed. I started with all-purpose flour, formed a well to place egg yolks into, and started putting in egg yolks. I started with 4 and very soon realized that was not going to be enough egg yolks for this recipe. As I began stirring and kneading this mixture together, I added egg yolks as I went and eventually formed it into a shaggy ball. Yep, more egg yolks as you can see there, and was able to knead this into a nice looking dough ball that resembled pasta dough. This process probably took about 10-15 minutes, and I kneaded it for probably 5 minutes until it was in a nice pasta dough. I let that rest for about an hour while I got started on the sauce. As you can see, this was quite a messy process while camping, so yeah, I had to scrub my hands extra hard to get all of this off. For the sauce, I made a basic ragu. Again, I wasn't following a recipe, so this was roughly what I had in mind. I started with onion and carrot, finely chopped. I started with olive oil in a pot and then added the onion and carrot. Made sure to add salt and pepper as I went, and I also added an Italian seasoning blend that I got from the store. Then I added the ground beef and then some garlic to the pan. Cooked the beef until it was a little bit brown and then started to add the canned whole tomatoes. I added a decent amount of sauce and tomatoes to this until what I thought to be a good consistency for me to reduce and let this cook for the next 30 minutes. Then I got to rolling out the pasta dough. And this was super fun. Honestly, it took a long time, but I would say it was worth the shenanigans and fun that we had with rolling this out. Closest thing to a rolling pin we could find that we brought was a bottle of whiskey, so we gave that a nice wash and used that to roll out the pasta dough. We rolled it thin, folded it over itself, and then rolled it thin again, and we tried to get this as thin as we could. And then after it was nice and thin, we cut it to shape. I used kind of a loaf pan and just cut them to the width of that pan. With the pan, I coated it in olive oil and then got to layering. Started with some sauce on the bottom and then a layer of dough, more sauce. I also had ricotta cheese and Parmesan cheese, and that was the layering process. If you guys have any other fun camping cooking ideas, be sure to leave a comment on what you would like me to make next time I'm out camping. At one point we added some Babybel cheese because we had that on hand and thought it would be a nice addition. Again, we just stacked this as much as we could with the sauce that we had, and it ended up being a hefty sheet of lasagna. Once the stacking was complete, I covered it in tin foil because this was going to cook in my Unicoda pizza oven. So I covered it in tin foil so that it wouldn't burn while it cooked. I let it cook for about 15 to 20 minutes, and I rotated it every minute or so, a quarter turn, just to make sure that one side didn't get too burned. At about the 20-minute mark, I unrolled it and checked the inside and was so pleased with the result. It was nice and gooey. We checked the doneness of the dough, continued to peel back that tin foil, and tried to make the cheese not stick as best we could, and then gave it a final torching in the pizza oven before pulling it out and getting ready to eat. And if you haven't seen that video, I highly recommend cooking video on the Unicoda 12. I made a bunch of meals that were not pizza in this pizza oven. We were absolutely starving at this point. To be honest, this meal took a long time, and if we were gonna do this again, we definitely would not have started this so late at night, but it was definitely worth the wait because this meal was absolutely delicious. It was probably the best camping meal I have ever had, and pretty incredible to think that we could make lasagna, in the middle of Utah while we were out camping. If you're wondering how it tastes, here's Brian with the final reaction.
Oh man, the noodles in that one. Dude, those are cooked so well.
If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Honestly. This is great. Holy shit! Does it help that we're like starving? does that enhance the flavor?